Viewers of this channel will know that I have a love affair with the Dark Souls series, and would at this point pretty much play anything From Software puts out. While I am being slightly tongue-in-cheek, they are by far one of my favourite developers, and Hidetaka Miyazaki and his team have proven themselves to be nothing short of genius. They managed to create an entire genre, something that is not easy at all in gaming, given just how many games are released daily. But they did it, and the Soulsborne games went on to be some of the best games in history, with their unparalleled lore, masterful background storytelling, and of course, the harsh but fair combat. It's not surprising then that a lot of games have tried to take a stab at the Soulsborne formula. We have seen this the most in the indie game space. There have been a few futile attempts in the AAA sphere as well. Looking at you, The Surge. But I'm not here to discuss the failures. I'm here to tell you why, in my opinion, Dead Cells is the best Souls-like game currently on the market. This is probably going to be a bit of a divisive opinion, given that a lot of people would choose Salt and Sanctuary or Hollow Knight over Dead Cells, and those games are by no means bad. They also managed to pull off the Soulsborne formula with aplomb. So why then do I say that Dead Cells is the best Souls-like game? Well, it would probably be best to break down what a Soulsborne game has as its main principles, the ingredients of the formula as it were. Do we have exploration and Metroidvania elements, background storytelling and lore, RPG elements and a huge variety in playstyles, and of course, punishing but fair combat. Those are, in my opinion, the core basic elements that make up the bedrock of a Soulsborne game, and of course with a lot of nuance in each of these that make up the foundation. So, essentially, the reason Dead Cells is the best Souls-like game is because it ticks each of these boxes. And it does so in a way where the game is unique and isn't just ripping off a successful formula. So let's look at each element and see what Dead Cells does right. Exploration and Metroidvania elements. Interestingly, this is one of the ways where Dead Cells deviates from the Souls formula the most. Since it is a 2D side-scroller, it actually has more in common here with the more traditional Metroidvanias. In Dark Souls, where certain areas are gated off behind items or boss completion, it still allows you to explore another area or try your hand at another boss if one is kicking your ass. Dead Cells does follow the more traditional way of thinking, where certain areas of the map can only be accessed by having certain abilities, which are locked behind runes. You have to explore each area of the game in order to acquire new runes, which will then allow access to an area that you saw earlier, albeit in a different run. This allows for a slower, more plodding exploration over multiple runs, as Dead Cells is also a roguelike as well, and also one of the best here as well. Once you have chosen a particular area to progress to, you cannot go back to a previous area, but each area does lead you to a new one, in which you unlock new runes, so the game opens up as you slowly unlock more items and get better as you go. But despite the fact that it does differ from the formula a bit here, in my view that's actually a good thing. Dead Cells is one of the best Souls-like games because it's not just trying to be exactly like Dark Souls, it's also its own game, and the slow but satisfying progression is one of the ways it does this. Background storytelling and lore. Just like in Souls, your protagonist in Dead Cells is completely silent. On the very few occasions he interacts with another living thing that doesn't immediately try to murder him, he communicates in shrugs, nods, and the classic thumbs up. So, just like in Souls, the storytelling and lore is left to the immeasurable details in the background. The graphic style of Dead Cells is, in my opinion, nothing short of stunning. And in its detailed art, there are all sorts of things to be gleaned from the details in the background. The piles of corpses, the tattered royal flags, statues, and of course the occasional diary entry which fleshes things out a little more. There really isn't that much lore being padded out in the item descriptions here, but the game still leaves enough breadcrumbs for you to follow over your multiple runs that make you want to explore more, not only to progress, but to figure out what the hell happened to this place, and of course, to you. The roguelike elements are also intertwined here, as the game even references you coming back over and over and over again. RPG elements and a huge variety of playstyles. Leveling is a critical part of any RPG, and of course Dark Souls has its own unique system to allow you to build your character into the perfect pyro, speedy dex sword wielder, or if anything like me, a slow plodding tank with strength cranked to the wazoo. There are a huge amount of weapons in each Soulsborne game, and each presenting pros and cons for different playstyles. While Dead Cells is by no means a fully fledged RPG in the same way that Souls is, it does have character customization on each run. It boils these down to 3 basic stats: brutality, tactics, and survival. They pretty much speak for themselves. Brutality's closest comparison is strength, which affects the usefulness of red items, which are usually your direct damage dealers. Tactics is for purple items, which are usually your traps, grenades, and so on. And then survival, which affects green items, which helps you not die. So it is a much more limited system, but alongside this basic 3-tier system is an absolutely staggering amount of weapons, traps and other items. This means that each run presents a unique experience with each own unique potential synergies and strengths based on what items you find. So the game still offers you a wide array of ways to play the game, and given the game's roguelike nature, the basic nature of the leveling system actually works to simplify things. Again, the multiple runs and the slow plodding exploration and progress you get does actually play into things here as you slowly unlock more weapons, blueprints and all sorts of things to slowly make yourself more powerful and give each run a better shot. Punishing but fair combat. Let's face it, this is what Soulsborne is known for, and in fairness, there is nothing quite like experiencing the intense frustration of fighting the same boss over and over before finally beating them. There is no satisfaction quite like it. However, where the roadblocks in Dark Souls are mostly the bosses, although some normal enemies are no joke, Dead Cells is more about the hordes of enemies you encounter, and the occasional elite enemy that turns up just to terrify the crap out of me. Even some of the regular spawning enemies can cover off huge chunks of health, especially in the later areas, meaning that each fight must be given your complete attention. You often have to utilise all of your skills, plus the verticality of the environment to defeat some of the foes you encounter. Some of these enemies can truly be scary, even though they're just there wandering the halls like they're minding their own business. Entering a new area in Dead Cells is honestly scary in a way I can't really describe. That small runt-like enemy who looks like he would blow away in a brisk wind? Oh, no big deal, it's actually a super fast assassin-like enemy who can destroy your run if you let him. Since Dead Cells is a roguelike and every death sends you back to square one, aside from any runes, items or blueprints you may have unlocked, every death feels way more impactful. Dead Cells nails a pretty delicate balance here. There is enough long-term progression over multiple runs to keep you playing over and over again, despite the rage-inducing frustration at a never-before-seen enemy absolutely curb-stomping you. Long story short though, Dead Cells manages to be the best in two genres simultaneously, Souls-like and roguelike. Generally speaking, I find roguelikes enjoyable at first but overall too frustrating to play, as I hate the feeling that a game is just wasting my time, and that feeling of losing all my progress and going back to just being nothing is honestly too frustrating for me to continue. However, with its masterful way of handling progression that is not only satisfying but also makes sense in the lore, Dead Cells avoid this like an absolute champ, and, while doing so, absolutely nails all the core pillars and philosophies that make up a good Souls game. In all honesty, Dead Cells may be one of my favourite games in recent memory, period. But let me know your thoughts, guys. You've heard me talk for almost 10 minutes about a game that I love. Agree or disagree, I want to hear your thoughts. What is your favourite Souls-like game? And perhaps if you've not played Dead Cells, have I convinced you to give it a bash? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.